Hello friends, welcome to Prashant IAS. So friends, in the last class we have completed our discussion with Attorney General of India, and from this class we will start our discussion with the Parliament of India. Okay, so let's begin. Now friends, in the earlier classes I have told you that India is a federal country. Okay, so India is a federal country. Now what does it mean when I say that India is a federal country? So it means that there are two levels of government. Okay, so the first government is central government. Okay, so the first government is central government, and there are many other state governments. Okay, so there is a central government and there are many state governments. Now friends, central government is for entire India. Okay, central government is for entire India, and every state has its own state government. Okay, so there is a central government for entire India and every state has its own state government. Now friends, federation means that the powers of central government and all the state governments are equal. Okay, so the powers of central government and all the state governments are equal. Okay, so it means that center and state work as coordinate bodies. Okay, central government and all the state governments work as coordinate bodies, and none is inferior to other, none is smaller to other. Okay, so none is inferior to other, none is smaller to other. The powers of central government and the powers of state government are equal. The powers of central government and the powers of state government are equal. None is inferior to other. Center and states are coordinate bodies, none is subordinate to other. Why? Because central government as well as state governments derive their powers and authority from the very same constitution. Same constitution gives power to state government and same constitution gives power to central government. So neither state governments are inferior to central government nor central government is inferior to state government. Central government and state government are coordinate bodies. Okay, so friends, now let's move further. Now friends, as I have told you that India is a federation, so central government and state governments have equal powers. Okay, neither central government is inferior to state government nor state government is inferior to central government. Both are coordinate bodies. And friends, as central government and state governments are coordinate bodies, they have same powers. They derive their powers and authority from the very same constitution. Due to this, what happens that the organization of the government at central level and state level is very similar. Okay, organization of the government means design of the government. Okay, organization of the government means design of the government. So both the governments have equal power. Both the governments derive their power from the very same constitution. Due to this fact, what happens that the design of both the governments is very similar. Okay, now friends, if we talk of very basic design of the government, okay, if we talk of very basic design of the government, then there are three organs of the government. Okay, there are three organs of the government. The first organ of the government is called as legislature. The first organ of the government is called as legislature. The second organ of the government is called as executive. Okay, and the third organ of the government is called as judiciary. Okay, so at both the levels. Okay, so here I am talking for center as well as for states. Okay, so for center as well as for states, there is a legislature, there is a executive, and there is judiciary. Okay, now friends, what is legislature? So legislature means law making body. Okay, means it is the organ of the government which makes law. Now what is executive? Executive means it is that organ of the government which implements the laws. Okay, so it is that organ of the government which implement the laws, and it also runs the administration of the country. After that, judiciary is that organ of the government which maintains the justice. Okay, so the work of the judiciary is to maintain the justice, means to punish those who violate the laws. Okay, So friends, at both the levels, means at central level as well as state level, the design of the government is very similar. Okay, so at central level and at state level, what happens that there are three organs of the government. The first organ of the government is legislature, second organ of the government is executive, and the third organ of the government is judiciary. Now what is the work of executive? The work of executive is to implement the laws and to run the administration of the country. The work of judiciary is to maintain justice. And what is the work of legislature? So the work of the legislature is to make laws. Okay, what is the very basic work of the legislature? The very basic work of the legislature is to make laws. Now friends, if we talk of central government, okay, if we talk of central government, then the legislature of the central government is called as parliament. Okay, so now our today's topic is what? Parliament. So what is parliament? Parliament is the legislature of the union government or the central government. Okay, so in India we call central government as union government also. Okay, so in India, what is parliament? Parliament is the legislature. Parliament is the law making body of the central government. What is parliament? Parliament is the law making body. Parliament is the legislating body of the central government. Okay, so what is parliament? It is the legislature of the central government. So this is the very basic information about the parliament. Now friends, let's move further. So friends, now I hope that you must be very clear with the definition of the parliament. So what is parliament? So parliament is central legislature. What is parliament? Parliament is central legislature. Central legislature means the body which makes law for entire country. The law making body of the central government. Now friends, now let us discuss about the design of the parliament. That what is the design of the parliament? What is the organization of the parliament? So friends, our parliament has two houses. Okay, our parliament has two houses and our parliament has three parts. Okay, so our parliament has two houses and our parliament has three parts. So now the question is that what are those two houses of the parliament? And the next question is that what are those three parts of the parliament? Okay, and these two houses as well as these three parts together makes the parliament. So now let us discuss that which are the two houses of the parliament and which are the three parts of the parliament. So friends, the three parts of the parliament are: the first part of the parliament is Lok Sabha. Okay, so Lok Sabha is the first part of the parliament. Rajya Sabha is the second part of the parliament. Okay, so Lok Sabha is the first part of the parliament, Rajya Sabha is the second part of the parliament, and President of India is the third part of the parliament. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that there are three parts of the parliament in India. The first part is Lok Sabha, second part is Rajya Sabha, and the third part of the parliament is President. Now friends, why President is the part of parliament? This I have already explained in the previous classes. So if you have confusion that why President is also considered as the part of the parliament, then you have to watch the previous lectures, because in many lectures I have explained you that why President is considered as the part of the parliament, and the topic of President has already been completed. Okay, so I hope that you all must be having a good knowledge about the President, and you all must be knowing that why President is called as the third part of the parliament. Okay, so here I am just telling you that there are three parts of the parliament: Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and President. Now friends, out of these three parts, Lok Sabha is a house. Okay, Lok Sabha is a house, and Rajya Sabha is also a house. Okay, but who is President? So President is not a house. President is not a house. President is the executive head of India. Okay, who is President? President is the highest constitutional functionary in India. President is the first citizen of India. President is the executive head of India. President is the executive head of state. Okay, so President is not a house. So now we can draw conclusion that our parliament has two houses. And which are the two houses of the parliament? So Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are the two houses of the parliament. Okay, so friends, now you have to keep in mind always that our parliament has three parts: Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and President. But out of these three parts, President is not a house. President is a officer. President is not a house. President is a officer. So President will not be counted in house. So there are only two houses of the parliament. The first house is Lok Sabha and the second house is Rajya Sabha. So this is the design or the organization of the parliament. So now friends, till now we have completed the topic of president in a very detailed manner. So our president is already completed. Now we have to complete Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So first of all we will pick Rajya Sabha and we will complete the topic of Rajya Sabha. Then we will complete the topic of Lok Sabha. So now let us begin our discussion with Rajya Sabha. So friends, here on the screen you are seeing the diagram of the parliament. So in the red color, this upper circle, okay, this upper circle in red color is Rajya Sabha, and this lower circle in the violet color is Lok Sabha. Now friends, whenever I taught you about any topic regarding parliament, I have drawn this diagram, okay, in order to make you understand. So there is a very simple logic behind this diagram. Okay, so remember in the previous classes, whenever I taught you about Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha or parliament or about the formation of government in India, I have always drawn this diagram. So there is a very basic logic in this diagram. So friends, first of all, you can notice here that this Rajya Sabha, the red circle is small. Okay, red circle is small, whereas this bigger circle is large. Now this bigger circle is large because the number of members in Lok Sabha is more than the number of members in Rajya Sabha. The number of members in Lok Sabha is 543, whereas the number of members in Rajya Sabha is 245. Okay, it means that Rajya Sabha has less number of members than Lok Sabha. Okay, that's why always I draw the circle of Rajya Sabha as a smaller circle. Then friends, you must have always noticed that I have drawn Rajya Sabha above Lok Sabha. Why I have always drawn Rajya Sabha above Lok Sabha? The reason behind this, that Rajya Sabha is the upper house. Okay, what is Rajya Sabha? Rajya Sabha is the upper house. That's why I always draw Rajya Sabha above Lok Sabha. But friends, Lok Sabha is a lower house. Okay, so Rajya Sabha is upper house and Lok Sabha is lower house. Now friends, a very basic question should come to your minds, that first of all, why do we need two houses? Okay, so the answer to this question is much bigger, but today I will tell you a part of the answer. Okay, because the real answer of this question is much bigger, which we will discuss later on. Okay, so our first question is that why do we need these two houses? But our second question, which is more important here, is that what is the very basic function of upper house and lower house? Okay, what is the very basic function of upper house and lower house? What upper house and lower house represents? Okay, so friends, the answer to this question is that the lower house represents the people of India. Lower house represents the people of India. Okay, but as I have told you that India is a federation. What is India? India is a federal country. India is a federation. And India is a federation. So states also needs their representation. In India there are many states. For example, Madhya Pradesh is a state. Uttar Pradesh is a state. Kerala is a state, Bihar is a state. So there are many states in India. Okay, and the interest of states is also needed to be represented in the central legislature. Okay, central legislature is very powerful. So there was a need that the interest of these states, the interest of MP, UP, Karnataka, Bihar, Kerala, Telangana, the interest of the states of India should be represented in the lawmaking body of the central government. Why? Because this lawmaking body makes law for the entire country, and states and we all know that states constitutes the country. Okay, in India, all the states of India comes, all the states and union territories of India, they constitutes the India. Okay, and as India is a federation, as India is a federal country, so there was a need that the interest of these states should be represented in the parliament. Okay, the interest of the state should be represented in the parliament. So friends, the lower house became the representative of the people. Okay, why? Because India is also a democracy, and democracy means the rule of people. Okay, so there was a need that the interest of people should be represented. Okay, so India is a democracy. Democracy means the rule of people. Democracy means the rule of people. So there was a need that the interest of the people should be represented. So lower house, the Lok Sabha, became the representative of people. Now, how do we know that lower house is the representative of people? So, lower house is the representative of people because the members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. The members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. But friends, upper house means Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is not the representative of people. Rajya Sabha is not the representative of people. Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. Okay, and how do we know that Rajya Sabha is the representative of states? So Rajya Sabha is the representative of states because the members of Rajya Sabha are not directly elected by people. Okay, so who elects the member of Rajya Sabha? So the members of state legislative assembly elects the members of Rajya Sabha. The members of state legislative assembly elects the member of Rajya Sabha, and that is why Rajya Sabha is the representative of the interest of states. Okay, so friends, what conclusion can we draw from this story? Okay, so what I want to tell you from this story, so the first fact which I want to tell you through this story is that Rajya Sabha is the representative. Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. Okay, Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. It means that Rajya Sabha represents the interest of state in the central legislature, means parliament. Rajya Sabha represents the interest of state in the parliament. Okay, so Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. So this is the first thing which I want to talk to you about Rajya Sabha. Now friends, even if you do not understand the previous story which I taught you, then there is no need to understand that. You only need to understand that Rajya Sabha is the representative of states and Lok Sabha is the representative of people. Okay, so Rajya Sabha is the representative of states. So this is the entire conclusion of this story, and you have to understand the only one statement that Rajya Sabha represents the interest of the states. Okay. Now friends, let us discuss about the design of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so what is the organization of Rajya Sabha? What is the design of Rajya Sabha? So friends, there are two category of members in Rajya Sabha. The first category of members are elected members and the second category of members are nominated members. Okay, so there are two category of members in Rajya Sabha, elected members and nominated members. Elected members are those members which are elected by the members of state legislative assembly. Okay, so they are elected by the members of state legislative assembly, and nominated members are those members which are nominated or appointed by the President of India. Okay, so elected members are elected by the members of state legislative assembly and nominated members are nominated by the President of India. Now friends, according to the Constitution of India, the maximum number of elected members can be 238. Okay, according to the Constitution of India, the maximum number of elected member can be 238 and the maximum number of nominated members can be 12. Okay, means what can be the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha? So the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha can be 250. But friends, the Parliament of India has fixed the number of nominated members to 12 only, but the number of elected members is fixed to 233. Okay, so according to Constitution, this is the maximum number of members which can be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Okay, but Parliament of India has made the law and it has fixed the number of members of Rajya Sabha to 233. Okay, so what is the current situation? So currently there are 233 members which are elected and 12 members which are nominated. So the current strength of Rajya Sabha is 245. What is the current strength of Rajya Sabha? 245. And there is a scope of 5 more members which can be added in Rajya Sabha according to the Constitution of India. Okay, so so there is a scope that if in future there is need, then parliament can distribute these 5 seats also. Okay, so this is a kind of stock. Okay, so if we talk of current condition, then currently there are 233 members which are elected and 12 members which are nominated. So the current strength of Rajya Sabha is 245. Now friends, what is the ground of nomination? Okay, so I have told you that 12 members can be nominated in Rajya Sabha. 12 members are nominated in Rajya Sabha. So these members are nominated on the basis of their extraordinary work in the field of art, in the field of science, in the field of literature, or in the field of social service. Okay, so in the field of social service. Now what does it mean? It means that President of India nominates 12 members in Rajya Sabha who have done extraordinary work, who have extraordinary knowledge in the field of art, in the field of science, in the field of literature, or in the field of social service. Okay, so the people who are having who have done extraordinary work in the field of art, science, literature, or social service, these people can be nominated in Rajya Sabha. For example, friends, if we talk of Sachin Tendulkar, okay, so Sachin Tendulkar was a cricketer, and what is cricket? Cricket is a sports, and if you will go in philosophy, then sport is also a kind of art. Okay, so sport is also a kind of art. Okay, so that's why he got nomination in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so now friends, let's move further. Now friends, what is the maximum tenure of the members of Rajya Sabha? So the maximum tenure of the members of Rajya Sabha is 6 years. Okay, so the members hold their office for a time period of 6 years. And friends, the entire system is designed in such a manner that every second year, okay, so now listen to me carefully, what happens that every second year, what happens that 1/3 of the members, every second year 1/3 of the members take retirement. Okay, 1/3 of the members take retirement, and for these vacant seats the elections are held, and these vacant seats are filled through fresh elections. Okay, so what is the system? The system is designed in such a manner that every second year 1/3 of the members get retirement. Okay, and when 1/3 of the members get retirement, so what happens that 1/3 of the seats get vacated, and for filling these vacant seats, what happens? The fresh elections takes place. Okay, so we can say that the elections for Rajya Sabha takes place every second year. Now friends, if some students are getting trouble in understanding that what is the meaning that 1/3 of the members are getting retired every year, okay, so I will give you one example so that you can understand it very easily. So friends, let's suppose that let's suppose that what happened in 1952, that the number of members in Rajya Sabha were 216. Okay, so we know that what is the current strength of Rajya Sabha? The current strength of Rajya Sabha is 245. So is 245. But what happened in 1952? That the strength of Rajya Sabha was 216. Okay. Now friends, what happened? That what we have to do now? We have to divide this 216 by 3. So if you will divide this 216 by 3, then the result will come as 72. Okay, so when you will divide this 216 by 3, then the result will come as 72. Okay, so what happened that in 1952, the membership of Rajya Sabha, the total strength of Rajya Sabha was 216. Now friends, according to our formula, what happened that in 1954, okay, 1954 means after 2 years, because I told you that I have told you that after every second year, 1/3 of the members take their retirement. Okay, so what will happen in 1954? What will happen in 1954? That 1/3 of the members of Rajya Sabha, 1/3 of the members means 72 members will take their retirement. Okay, what will happen? That's these members will take their retirement. Okay, and when these members will take their retirement, so what will happen? That these seats will become vacant, and when these seats will become vacant, so the new elections will be conducted to fill these seats, and 72 members will be elected. 72 members will be elected. 72 members will be elected for Rajya Sabha through fresh elections. Okay, now friends, what will happen in 1956? Okay, 1956 means 2 years down the line. Okay, so what will happen after 2 years? That again another 72 members will take their retirement. So these 72 members were different. They were retired, and in their place new members were elected. Now what will happen? That another 72 members will take the retirement, and when they will take the retirement, what will happen? That again fresh elections will be conducted. Okay, again fresh elections will be conducted, and what will happen? That in their place new members will be elected. Now friends, again what will happen 2 years down the line? That in 1958, okay, 1958 means after 2 years, what will happen? That the remaining 72 members will take their retirement. So I have told you that there were total 216 members. Okay, and when you will calculate the 1/3, when you will calculate the 1/3 of 216, then the result will come as 72. Okay, so means there were 3 groups of 72 members, 72 members, 72 members, and 72 members. So what happened? So one by one each group take their retirement. Okay, so first of all this group take their retirement in 1954, then this group take their retirement in 1956, and this group take their retirement in 1958. So what will happen in 1958? That the remaining 72 members will take their retirement, and new members will be elected in their place. Okay, then what will happen? That new members will be elected in their place. Now friends, just think, okay, just think that what will happen in 1960. What will happen in 1960? So now you will say that sir, in 1960 the 6th year of these members will be completed. What will happen? That the 6th year of these members will be completed. So in 1960 means 2 years after 1958. In 1960 the 6th year of these members will be completed, so they will take retirement, and the new members will be elected in their place. Okay, after that friends, what will happen in 1962? In 1962 the 6th year of these members will be completed. Okay, so in 1962 means 2 years after 1960. So these members, what will happen? The 6th year of these members will be completed, so they will take their retirement, and new members will be elected in their place. Okay, so this is the system which was developed. Okay, so this is the system which was developed. So we can say that what happens in Rajya Sabha? What happens in Rajya Sabha? That every second year 1/3 of the members take retirement, and new members are elected in their place. And what is the tenure of a member? The tenure of a member is 6 years. So friends, now I hope that you all must be very clear with this. So now friends, our next question is how the elections take place for electing the members of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so first of all we need to know who are the electors, okay, or who are the voters. So friends, the members of Rajya Sabha are elected by the elected members of State Legislative Assembly. Okay, so now what is State Legislative Assembly? So I have told you that the design of government is very similar in center and states. Okay, so there are 3 organs of the government in center. So similarly there are 3 organs of the government in states also, and these 3 organs are legislature, executive, and judiciary. Okay, so legislature, executive, and judiciary. So now friends, Legislative Assembly is the legislature for states. Means Legislative Assembly is the law making body for the states. Okay, so as we have Lok Sabha, in the center. So we have state legislative assembly in the states. Okay, why? Because state legislative assembly works as the lower house of the parliament. Okay, so its functioning is very similar to the lower house of the parliament. So we can compare the state legislative assembly with the Lok Sabha. Okay, so we can compare state legislative assembly with the Lok Sabha. And if you are not understanding, then you can simply understand then what is state legislative assembly. So it is a legislature for states, means it is the law making body for the states. Okay, now friends, so what happens that the elected members of state legislative assemblies take part in the elections of Rajya Sabha. Now what does it mean? So let's suppose this is a state, let's suppose that this is a state legislative assembly. Okay, so this is a state legislative assembly. So definitely this state legislative assembly will have two category of members. Elected members. Elected members means the members which are directly elected by the people, and nominated members. Nominated members means members which are nominated by the governor of that state. So you have to keep in mind that nominated members do not take part in the elections of Rajya Sabha. Only elected members take part in the elections of Rajya Sabha. After that, friends, okay, after that, friends, what happens that the union territories of Delhi and Pondicherry also takes part in the elections of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so union territories of Delhi and Pondicherry also takes part in the elections of Rajya Sabha. Friends, here you have to keep one thing in mind, that earlier Jammu and Kashmir was a state. Okay, but after the bifurcation bill, what happened that the two union territories were created. Okay, so earlier Jammu and Kashmir had its members in Rajya Sabha. Okay, why? Because it was a state. So earlier what happened that Jammu and Kashmir had their members in Rajya Sabha. Okay, but now after the bifurcation bill, what happened that the two UTs, two union territories were created. Okay, now friends, all the members of Rajya Sabha from Jammu and Kashmir has already been retired. Okay, so all the members from Rajya Sabha from Jammu and Kashmir has already been retired. So currently Jammu and Kashmir do not have any representation. Jammu and Kashmir does not have any representation in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, and why it does not have any representation? Because what is the current status, that the assembly means the legislative assembly is in dissolved state. Okay, so the legislative assembly is in dissolved state, and I have told you that the legislative assembly is a must for conducting elections of Rajya Sabha. Why? Because who give vote in the elections of Rajya Sabha? So the elected members of legislative assembly give vote in the elections of Rajya Sabha, and the assembly is in dissolved state. Okay, and the members which were previously elected, they have already been retired. So currently there is no representation of Jammu and Kashmir in Lok Sabha. There is no representation of Jammu and Kashmir in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this topic is in news and there is a lot more controversy about it. So what you have to do, you have to follow the news articles about Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, and you have to keep yourself updated that what happens next. And friends, a lot more controversy is going on. The many discussions are going on. The leaders from Jammu and Kashmir are demanding the restoration of statehood. Okay, and the and for the constitution of the assembly. Okay, so means a lot more controversy is going on. So what you have to do, that you have to follow the news articles and you have to keep updated yourself with the news, so that you can get the relevant content regarding Jammu and Kashmir, because there are very high chances that the question from Jammu and Kashmir can be asked this year. Okay, because currently all the members of Rajya Sabha from Jammu and Kashmir has already been retired. So virtually there is no representation in Rajya Sabha from Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, and the assembly is in dissolved state, so the fresh elections also cannot be conducted. Okay, but whatsoever is the condition, definitely we can predict that in future when the assembly will be made again. Okay, so definitely what will happen, that it will also given representation in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so what can happen in future, that currently the situation is that the Union Territory of Delhi and Union Territory of Pondicherry, okay, they have they also participate in the elections of Rajya Sabha. Okay, but these union territories, but in future these union territories, okay, which were made after the Jammu and Kashmir bifurcation bill, they will also get their representation in Rajya Sabha. Why? Because definitely they also have their own legislative assembly. So in future definitely they will get their representation in Rajya Sabha. But what we have to do, we have to keep ourselves updated with the news items. So keep following the newspaper and update yourself. So now let's move further. Now friends, if we talk of the method of election, then the election for Rajya Sabha are conducted by proportional representation system. Okay, so elections are conducted through proportional representation system by the means of single transferable vote. Okay, so the Rajya Sabha elections are conducted by the method of proportional representation system by the means of single transferable vote. But now the question arises that what is the meaning of this statement? Okay, so actually this statement describes the methodology of the election of Rajya Sabha, the procedure, the process of the elections of Rajya Sabha. Okay, but how the process happens on the ground. Okay, so now I will give you one example and I will explain you that what is the method of conducting elections for Rajya Sabha, or what is the meaning of proportional representation system by the means of single transferable vote. Friends, one thing I want to tell you here, that there are many articles regarding the election of Rajya Sabha on internet as well as in many books. Okay, but unfortunately most of them are wrong. Okay, so I will not take any name here, but I just want to tell you that please do not see the method of election of Rajya Sabha from any article on Google or from any article or from any other video. Okay, because I have seen many videos and I have read many articles on internet, but unfortunately I found that most of these articles and most of these videos are wrong. So I have taken the process from the NCERT. Okay, so I have taken the process from NCERT, which is a most authentic source. Okay, so NCERT is the most authentic source, and I will give you the same example which is given in the NCERT book. Okay friends, so I will give you the same example and I will tell you the same formula which is given in NCERT book, because NCERT is the most authentic book. It is the most authentic source of information. Okay, so I just want to request you that please do not watch any other video or do not read any other content regarding the election of Rajya Sabha, otherwise you will get super confused. Because when I read these articles, then I found that almost every article was wrong. Many of these articles were wrong, so please do not read them. Okay, so I am telling you the formula and the example which was given in NCERT. So it is the most authentic and most trustworthy formula as well as the example. Okay, so I will give here you the same example which is given in the NCERT book. So friends, in the NCERT book, the example of the Rajasthan state was given. Okay, so in NCERT book the example of Rajasthan state was given. So here I will also take the example of Rajasthan state. So friends, let's suppose that there are 200 MLAs in the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan. And friends, let's suppose that 4 seats, okay, 4 Rajya Sabha seats are vacant from Rajasthan. Now what does it mean? It means that the elections are to be conducted for 4 candidates. 4 seats are to be filled from Rajasthan. Okay, so first of all I will tell you the formula, that what is the formula, okay, to calculate the majority. Now friends, what happens here, that each of these members, okay, so I have told you that there are 4 vacant seats. Okay, so now each member needs certain quota. Each member needs certain quota for winning the election. So how the quota for winning the election is calculated? So first of all I will give you the formula. So let's see what is the formula for that. So friends, that formula is total votes polled divided by total number of candidates to be elected plus 1, and we have to add 1 in this entire equation. Okay, so for example, here we know that there are 200 MLAs. Okay, so here we know that there are total 200 MLAs. So 200 votes will be polled divided by total number of candidates to be elected. So we know that there are 4 candidates to be elected. So we will divide this by 4. Now we have to add 1. So we will add 1 here. Okay. And in the final equation, we have to add 1 again. So what is the formula? Total number of votes polled. So here we know that there are 200 MLAs. So definitely 200 votes will be polled. Then divided by total number of candidates to be elected. So 4 candidates to be elected and we have to add 1 in this. After that we have to add 1 in this equation. Okay, so let's solve this equation. So friends, when you will solve this equation, so this equation will become 200 divided by 5 plus 1. And when you will solve this, so the result will come as 5 4 ja 20 and 40 plus 1. So the result will come as 41. Okay, so the quota for winning is 41 votes. Okay, now what does it mean? It means that if 41 MLAs will vote in the favor of a candidate, then that candidate will win. Okay, so if 41 or more than that candidates, if 41 or more than that MLAs will give their vote to any candidate, then that candidate will win. Okay, so for winning, a candidate needs at least 41 votes. Now friends, let's move further and see how the actual process goes on. Now friends, for the sake of simplicity, let us assume that there are only 2 political parties, political party A and political party B. Okay, so here I will not take the name of any political party, and actually we know that there are many political parties on the ground, but for the sake of simplicity, means so that you can understand, we are here assuming that let's suppose there are only political party A and political party B. Now friends, these both political parties will send their candidates in the election. So let's suppose C, D, E and F. Okay, C, D, E and F, these are the 4 candidates of political party A. And friends, G, H, I and J, these are the 4 candidates of political party B. Okay, so here in this election, for the sake of simplicity, we are assuming that there are only 2 political parties, political party A and political party B. Okay, and there are 4 candidates of political party A. The name of these 4 candidates are C, D, E, F, and the 4 candidates of political party B are G, H, I, J. Okay. Okay, so now friends, this is a ballot paper. Okay, so let's suppose that this is a ballot paper. Okay, so now G, C, D, E and F. Okay, so these 4 are the members of political party A, and G, H, I, J, these 4 are the members of political party B. Okay, so in the ballot paper, there will be the name of as many candidates. Okay, there will be the name of as many candidates will stand in the election. Okay, so here we are assuming that there are 4 seats vacant. Okay, so here we are assuming that there are 4 seats vacant. So political party A will stand their 4 candidates in the election, and similarly political party B will also send its 4 candidates in the election. So total there will be 8 candidates in the election. Okay, and the name of all these 8 candidates will be written on the ballot paper. So C, D, E, F, they all belong to political party A, and G, H, I, J, they all belong to political party B. And friends, one thing you need to remember, that number of preferences will be equal to number of candidates. For example, there are 8 candidates, so there will be 8 preferences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, so there are, how many candidates are there? So there are 8 candidates, so there will be 8 preferences. So friends, here I think that there is some mistake in this ballot paper. So let me correct it, then I will show it to you. So now this ballot paper is correct. So there are 8 candidates in the election, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and there are 8 preferences, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there are 8 candidates, and there are 8 candidates and there are 8 preferences in the ballot paper. Now friends, each MLA has to fill this ballot paper. Okay, so till now I think you must be clear that this type of ballot paper is given to one MLA. Okay, so this is a sample ballot paper. This is a sample ballot paper, and this type of ballot paper is given to one MLA, and there are name of all the candidates in the ballot paper, as well as there are as many preferences in the ballot paper as many are the candidates. So here are 8 candidates, so there are 8 preferences. Now friends, a MLA can fill all the preferences if he wants. Okay, so a MLA can fill as many preferences as he want. Now friends, one thing you need to remember, that MLA has to fill these preferences with a violet pen given to him. Okay, so MLAs are given a violet pen, and with the help of that violet pen, MLAs have to fill these preferences. So let's suppose there is a MLA, and the name of that MLA is, let's suppose, Raju. Okay, so Raju is a MLA, and MLA Raju is now filling this preference. Now friends, let's suppose this MLA Raju belongs to political party A. Okay, MLA Raju belongs to political party A. So definitely, as he belongs to political party A, so he will give the first preferences to the members of his own political party. So he will give first preferences to the members of his own political party. Now we know that C, D, E, F, they all belong to political party A. Okay, so now Raju will fill his preference, like for example, first preference to C, second preference to D, third preference to E, and fourth preference to F. Okay, now friends, if Raju wants, then he can fill the preferences for G, H, I, J, or if he doesn't want, then it depends on him. So let's suppose he fills the preferences for G, H, I, J also. So let's suppose his fifth preference is G, sixth preference is H, seventh preference is I, and eighth preference is J. Okay, so these are the preferences filled by Raju. Now what does it mean? So it means that according to Raju, C is his most favored candidate. Okay, so according to Raju, his first preference is C. Okay, but in the case if C is not elected, then according to Raju, his second preference is D. Okay, now friends, in this way all the MLAs will give their vote. Okay, so actually how they will cast their vote, they will fill their preferences. Okay, so they will fill their preferences, okay, as are filled in the elections of the president. So remember friends, I taught you this in the elections of the president also. Okay, so what all the MLAs will do, they will fill their ballot paper by giving different preferences to different candidates which are standing in the election. Now friends, let's see that how the further procedure will go. Now friends, I have already told you that there are only 2 political parties, political party A and political party B, and there are 200 seats. Okay, so there are 200 members or 200 seats in the legislative assembly. Now let's suppose political party A is having 150 seats in the legislative assembly. Okay, and political party B is only having 50 seats in the legislative assembly. So political party A is having 150 seats and political party B is having only 50 seats. Okay, now friends, these are the candidates which are contesting the election. So C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, they are the candidates which are contesting the elections, and out of these all, C, D, E, F belongs to political party A and G, H, I, J belongs to political party B. Okay, now friends, as we know that political party A is having 150 seats in the legislative assembly. Okay, so all the members of political party A will give their first preference, second preference, third preference, and fourth preference to the members of political party A only. For example, I have shown you the ballot paper of MLA Raju. So MLA Raju give his first preference to C, second to D, third to E, and fourth to F. Okay, so what will happen, that all the MLAs of political party A will give their first 4 preferences to the members of to the candidates of their own political party. Okay, and after that they will distribute their other preferences. Okay, so now friends, what happens in first round of counting? So first of all, what happens, that first round of counting takes place. So what happens in first round of counting, that first preference votes are counted. Okay, so in first round of counting, only first preference votes are counted. Now friends, let's suppose that in first round of counting, C got 41 first preference votes, D also got 41 first preference vote. Okay, now this E also get 41 first preference vote, and this F got 27 first preference votes. Okay, now how I distributed all these votes? So friends, we know that political party A is having 150 seats in legislative assembly. Okay, now the members of political party A, okay, or the leader of political party A knows that the quota for winning is 41. Okay, that the quota for winning is how much? 41. So what the leader of political party A will do, that he will give order to 41 specific MLAs of his political party to give first preference to C. Okay, then he will give order to 41 other members of his party to give first preference to D. Okay, similarly he will give order to 41 other members of his political party, means MLAs of his political party, to give first preference to E. Okay, but if you will sum all these, then the result will come as 123. Okay, so only 27 MLAs were left after that. So these 27 MLAs gave their first preference vote to F. Okay, now friends, what will happen to the candidates of political party B? Okay, so let's see what will happen to the members of political party B. So let's suppose this G got 41 votes. Okay, this G got 41 first preference vote, and let's suppose that this H got 2 first preference votes, this I got 2 first preference votes, and let's suppose this J got 5 first preference votes. So I have told you that political party B is having 50 seats in legislative assembly. Okay, so definitely the leader of political party B will give order to 41 MLAs to give their first preference vote to G. Okay, and they know that definitely they will be able to secure only one seat. Why? Because they are only having 50 members. Okay, so definitely, okay, so now let's see what are the results. So what will happen, that member C will get elected, member D is also elected, candidate E is also elected, and similarly friends, candidate G is also elected. Okay, and we needed 4 members, so now 4 members are elected, and in this way elections takes place for Rajya Sabha members. Okay, so this is very simple. Now friends, there can be one more condition. Okay, so definitely I have told you that the quota for winning was 41. So any candidate who will get 41 or more than that vote, he will win. So here C got 41 votes, D got 41 votes, E got 41 votes, and G got 41 votes. So these 4 are now the elected members for Rajya Sabha from Rajasthan. Okay, so they are the elected members from Rajya Sabha from Rajasthan. Okay, so now how many members political party A got? 3 candidates. Okay, so 3 candidates of political party A won the election, and 1 candidate of political party B won the election. Okay, so friends, many a times you all must have listened or you have read in the newspapers that that people are calculating before elections of Rajya Sabha that this political party will get these many seats in Rajya Sabha, this political party will get these many seats in Rajya Sabha. So actually they will calculate like this. Okay, so this is the very basic formula for calculating that which political party will get how many seats in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so they will also do this simple calculation and easily they calculate. So friends, now there can be one more condition. Now what is that one more condition? So let me explain you what can be that one more condition. Okay, so here I have told you that all the 4 candidates got elected in first round of election only. Okay, so how many candidates we had? We had C, D, E, F from political party A, and G, H, I, J from political party B. Okay, now friends, let's suppose, and I told you that candidate C got elected, candidate D got elected, candidate E got elected, and candidate G got elected. Now let's suppose friends that candidate E is not elected. Okay, so let's suppose the condition in which candidate E is not elected. Okay, so means what happened, that after the first round of counting, that C got 41 ballot votes, D got 41 votes, G got 41 votes. Okay, so C got 41 votes, so he got elected. D got 41 votes, so D got elected, and G got 41 votes, so G got elected. But E, F, H, I, J, none of them got 41 or more than that votes. Okay, so none of them got 41 or more than that votes. So what will happen in this condition? Okay, so we needed 4 candidates, but only 3 candidates got elected. And why only 3 candidates got elected? Because only 3 candidates got the required quota of votes. Only 3 candidate got 41 votes. Okay, and EFHIJ, they didn't get the required quota. So now what will happen in this scenario? Why? Because we need 4 members. So friends, what will happen in this scenario? That the second round of counting will start. Okay, so in this scenario, the second round of counting will take place. And how the second round of counting will take place? So let's suppose, friends, that H only got one vote. Okay, H only got one first preference votes. Okay, so let's suppose that this J, okay, so I'm talking of J. So let's suppose that this J only got one first preference votes. So what happens in second round of counting? That here we see that which candidate got the least number of first preference votes. Okay, so I have told you that in first round of counting only first preference of votes are counted. Okay, so I have told you that in first round of counting that only first preference of votes are counted. Okay, but what happens in second round of counting? So in second round of counting, first of all, it is seen that which candidate got least number of first preference votes. So here I am telling you that J got only one first preference votes, means J got the least number of first preference votes. So in this, what we will do? First of all, we will eliminate J from the election. Okay, so now J is out of the race. Okay, and friends, then what will happen? That we will distribute the second preference votes of J. We will distribute the second. So here I have told you that only one MLA gave the first preference vote to J. Okay, so now what we will see? Now we have to see who is the second preference of that MLA. Okay, so what I have told you that only one MLA or one voter gave his first preference vote to J. So now we will see that what we will see? Now we will see that who is the second preference of that MLA. Who is the second preference of that MLA? Now friends, let's suppose that this time what happened? That E got 40 votes. Okay, what happened? That this time E got 40 votes. And let's suppose the second preference of this MLA is E. Okay, the second preference of the MLA who gave his first preference to J is E. Okay, so he is the MLA who gave his first preference to J, and let's suppose his second preference is E. So now his second preference vote will be transferred to E. Okay, and if E gets required quota, then E will get elected. So here we can see that E got required quota, means E got 41 votes, so definitely E will get elected. Okay, so if E gets required quota, then E will get elected. And friends, even if the fourth candidate, even if all the required candidates are not elected after second round of counting, then what will happen? Then third round of counting will begin. Okay, then what will happen? Then third round of counting will begin. Okay, so the same process will be repeated, which I have told you for J. Okay, so the same process will be repeated and third round of counting will begin. And what will happen? That after third round of counting, winner will be declared. And if after third round of counting winner is not declared, all the candidates are not declared, all the candidates required are not got elected, then fourth round of counting will start. Okay, and the process will continue until the winners are declared. So this is the simple process of the elections of Rajya Sabha. So friends, I know that the process is little bit complex and much difficult, but with the help of the examples, I tried to make this process as simple as possible. Okay, so I know that this process is really very complex, really very difficult, and when you will search the net, then most of the articles are wrong regarding this process. Okay, that's why I have given more time to this video, and with the help of this example, I tried that you understand this concept very easily. But friends, even then some students are not, but friends, even if some students are not able to understand, then they should only keep in mind that Rajya Sabha elections are conducted through proportional representation system. Rajya Sabha elections are conducted through proportional representation system through single transferable vote. Okay, so even if you have not understood this process, then please just try to remember that Rajya Sabha elections are conducted by proportional representation system through single transferable vote. Okay, but I hope that you all must have understood this process, because I have given an example and I tried my best to make you understand this concept. So friends, that's all for today. I hope that you all must have enjoyed the lecture and you all are able to understand the process of election of Rajya Sabha. Okay friends, I have uploaded the link of notes in the description of the video. You can also download the notes from my website prashantias.com. So friends, if you have liked the lecture, then like the video, comment, subscribe my channel, press the bell icon and share this channel to all the people you know who are preparing for UPSC. Now we will meet in next class. Till then, take care of yourself. Thank you.